Let's move on though to the seventh and most exciting ways of mapping field data in the GIS cloud, and that is via editable feature services. Now think of these as collaborative citizen science mapping. So you've got some data, your colleagues are mapping data, all with an ordinary smartphone running the ArcGIS app, the collector app from Esri. You're collecting data with these apps on your phone. And preloaded that you've created ahead of time is you've identified the attributes, the fields that you want to collect while you're out in the field, and you can also specify domains on those attributes so that they show up as arrows or pull down menus, so as to minimize the amount of editing on the phone, the amount of typing you'll have to do on the phone while you're out in the field. If you want to be able to pick some a set of choices on a menu, then you can do that ahead of time inside ArcGIS Desktop, and then push that data up into the cloud, and then you've got, and if you make that feature service editable, then a specified set of users that you designate will be able to edit your map. And this is really quite exciting because you can have a whole legion of people all mapping pine beetle infestation, or traffic counts in a city, or weather, or pH values in streams, or stream flow, or graffiti in a city, all kinds of things that you can actually map with this editable feature services, vegetation and infrastructure, light poles, etc. And as agencies, federal agencies, state agencies, local governments actually cut their field staff, this becomes a more and more viable service, having ordinary citizens out there in the field. And yeah, there are some data quality issues, but there have been a variety of really solid data sets collected by this means of citizen science. I mean, globe.gov, those students and educators have been collecting data for years. The birding community, eBird.org, and other bird communities have been collecting data even before citizen science was a real phrase, right? They've been collecting data. Also, as these organizations now increasingly rely on these citizen science services. Oh, and I forgot to mention OpenStreetMap, a viable, wonderful street network created originally by folks saying, hey, you know, we don't have any national digital data in our country, and we need to have a street network for emergency services, for all kinds of things, planning purposes and so on, ordinary navigation purposes too. So they started updating a global data set called the OpenStreetMap Street Network. And it's a wonderfully good data set, and one that changes daily based on citizen input to that data set. Okay, so those are 7 ways to map field data in the GIS cloud. Now, let me say that just a few years ago it would have been really kind of far-fetched to say, well, you can create data, GIS data, with an ordinary smartphone, as I've got in my hand right here. And now you can. So this technology is really rapidly evolving, and it's becoming easier and more powerful all the time. So here's an editable feature service for 3 types of trees that we took teachers out and collected in Southern California in the chaparral biome. Olive trees, fruit trees, and other kinds of trees. And then what's nice about these editable feature services is that you can attach photographs to those, as I did right here with kind of a geeky, nerdy photo of a colleague and I, Dr. Nguyen, but from the Association of American Geographers. But the point is that you can attach media to these points while you're out in the field with points and videos and photographs that you collect with the smartphone, as I'm holding in my hand right there. And here's another one. Typically in online courses, especially, what I do is, week 1 of the course, hey, introduce yourself, how long have you been teaching, and what's your research interests, and so on and so forth. And now I do the same thing, but I also include a map. So not only provide your colleagues with that information, but put yourself on a map with a dot, with a point. And then you can see the spatial pattern of the course participants and talk about, what's the weather like in, Colorado, for example. Now, another interesting part about that is that later on in the course, when you start talking about, geospatial privacy and crowdsourcing and so on, you can say, remember that map that we edited back on week 1 of the course? Did you really put that dot on your house or on your school or on your university or community college? How close were you, and does it really matter for this? But what does it matter for, broader implications, other kinds of data that people are collecting, that there are ensuing concerns about privacy? Now here's a tiny little secret. It's so tiny that it's in this tiny microscopic font at the top of this rope in this wonderful cave picture I took while we were coming out of a cave in New Mexico one year. But that is that GIS, geospatial technologies, I believe, are too valuable just to leave to one discipline, like geography, even though that's my home discipline, and I love geography. But business has a say, engineering has a say, mathematics, biology, language arts, environmental studies, they all have something to contribute to this field, and they all can benefit from the spatial perspective and having their professionals, students and educators and researchers, using geospatial technology. So spatial thinking is for every discipline. Now, I hope you've enjoyed and started thinking, outside the box on this whole idea of crowdsourcing your fieldwork, and basically also how to map my field data. It's, again, things are getting more powerful and easier to use all the time in a GIS. And so if you've been out of GIS for a while and you're wondering, what's the best time to get back into it, I say now is the time, because we've got a convergence of wonderful tools. We've got a increasing awareness of key issues in our planet that we need to grapple with and solve. And also we've got more and more people, ordinary people, using some sort of geotechnologies every day. Like how many people have actually downloaded or used, streamed an aerial photo or a satellite image in the time that we've been chatting amongst ourselves in this presentation? Millions, right? Whereas in the old days, not too long ago, only mapping professionals, cartographers and geographers, and GIS people were actually looking at satellite images, and some others, of course, but by and large some sort of smallish professional community. Now you've got ordinary folks looking at some of these same images and maps, but not only that, they're using geotechnologies to navigate, to collect data, for example, to go geocaching, to watch birds, etc. Okay, so GIS, geotechnologies, is becoming more and more part of our everyday lives. So I think it's a key time to get those folks knowledgeable about why it is actually important for the planet, for more and more of society to be spatially literate. So I hope that was helpful. I wish you the best, and look forward to chatting with you. Get a hold of me via one of these methods, and also I encourage you to get a hold of your colleagues and build that network of geospatial information professionals. Thanks.